Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start today in Cleveland. All right, it's hard to play football nailed to a cross. Jesus couldn't do it. Neither can Cam. Neither can Odell Beckham Jr. The Browns receiver spends most of his spare time promoting the narrative that the league that made him rich and famous persecutes him for being a free spirit. Every week, Odell has a new complaint claiming the NFL has treated him unfairly. This week, it's a $14,000 fine the league imposed on him for wearing football pants that did not cover his knees.
It's just whack. There's no other way to put it. It's just whack. You know, pants, you're getting fined $15,000 for some pants, and a knee pad that's this big is not going to protect me from getting hit. Whatever the case may be, they feel the need to fine me, and for some pants that cost probably 6 cents to make, you know what I mean? And we're getting fined $15,000. I just find it a way that they're just finding a way to pull the money back from the players. There's no other way around it. That's just what they're doing.
Actually, Odell, the rules are the same for everybody. Odell simply refuses to follow the rules. You ever see the movie Gone Girl? Odell reminds me of the wife, Amy. She went to incredible lengths to paint herself as a victim of her evil husband. Odell is turning the Browns into a reenactment of Gone Girl. It's Gone Browns. It's the whiniest team in football. The NFL hit Baker Mayfield with a fine this week because Mayfield complained about officiating after the Browns lost to Seattle. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Cleveland coach Freddie Kitchens whined inaccurately about a Baltimore defensive back choking Odell. The 2-4 Browns are the biggest disappointment in football because they've adopted the mentality of their loudmouth, nagging wide receiver. The Browns are victims. This week they face the anti-Browns, Bill Belichick's undefeated New England Patriots. Just because I root against the Patriots doesn't mean I don't respect their hustle.
Say it.
When the Patriots feel they've been wrong, Deflategate, for example, they don't get mad and whiny, they get even. They don't nail themselves to a cross, they nail the guys lined up across from them. The Patriots are the real gladiators. OBJ, Baker Mayfield, Freddie Kitchens are a bunch of whiny little Browns, gone boys. Freddie can't see that all that whining and the victim mentality are standing in the way of the Browns reaching their potential.
As long as those guys aren't hurting the team, you know, doesn't matter. My concern is the team, and I don't want them hurting their team with comments, and neither one of them has.
You're wrong, Freddie. Mindset matters. Odell has a loser's victim mentality, and it permeates the team. Doug Williams, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, once told me about playing for the great Eddie Robinson at Grambling. Doug said Coach Robinson never talked with his players about racism and the obstacles they would face outside of Grambling. Doug said Robinson wanted his players leaving the football program feeling like they could conquer the world. Coach Robinson prepared his players for success, not failure. All this victimhood crap spread by Odell and other Nike assets is poison. It's killing the Browns and the young people who look up to Beckham and others. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analysts Bucky Brooks and LeVar Arrington. Marcellus, get us started. Has Odell given the Browns a culture problem?
No, he has not. And just to clarify, I know that the Patriots don't whine, but they do destroy cell phones and burn videotapes. So, you know, they figure out a way to game. They figure out how to get out of them situations. You know what's happening here? These are just the symptoms of losing. And the real illness is a lack of production. You don't go 2-4 because you complain after ball games. You go 2-4 because you have a quarterback that's regressed. And he's regressing from a place that maybe was greater than we should have expected out of him being drafted number 1 overall in Baker Mayfield. There was a shock that went through the collective NFL atmosphere when we saw that Baker Mayfield was the number 1 overall pick, right? We were like, what? And then he went out there and broke the passing touchdown record of Peyton Manning and came close to winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, and we said, oh, he's a made man. And then the sophomore slump hit, which is basically you don't go back to square one in the second lap around because you think, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that easy. I already made it to some degree. And what we're seeing right now is a catch that Odell can't make anymore because the ball is not as accurate as it was usually thrown when he was a New York Giant. What you're seeing right now is a coach who is in front of his skis and over his head in terms of schematic philosophy and being a chess master on the sideline. So all these are symptoms that come from losing. But what's really happening is that they're not getting core production out of his talent.
You know, you hit on something that I believe is in line with what I'm going to say. A team typically takes on the personality of its coach. But in reality, in the National Football League, the team takes on the personality of the quarterback. The Cleveland Browns are emotional because Baker Mayfield is emotional. The way Baker Mayfield acts is the way that the rest of the team acts. When we saw the ebbs and flows, and we talked about being a franchise quarterback and how that position is supposed to be presidential, where Baker Mayfield goes against the norm. So everyone has said, oh, it's okay, that's what he does. But what happens is he sets the standard. He is the guy that is the standard bearer. You talk about the Patriots. How does Tom Brady conduct themselves? If Tom Brady, the best player, is in line, then everyone else falls in line. When the Cleveland Browns made Baker Mayfield the number 1 overall pick and they made him the franchise quarterback, and then they gave him the coach of his choice, Freddie Kitchens, they turned over the franchise to Baker Mayfield. What we're seeing from the Browns is a reflection of Baker Mayfield. Odell Beckham has nothing to do with this.
But I just want to clarify. You do believe there's a culture problem. You just think it's really coming from the quarterback.
Absolutely.
More. Okay. I could kind of disagree, but I like the point.
I mean, I disagree. Todd Husak, Patrick Ramsey, they did not influence the way I felt and the way our defense played. I would say I did, and I would say our coach did. But I would think a strong personality at that position would dictate that. Is he a cultural problem? Yes, he is. He is a cultural problem because the culture of what he brought to Cleveland is probably bigger than the Cleveland brand itself. It's already a cultural problem in Cleveland as it stands. They weren't winning and world beaters and Super Bowl champs before Odell got there. They were dealing with the same type of issues. Now it's just that much more amplified because of the personality and the stardom that Odell Beckham and a Jarvis Landry brings to the organization. So where I'll say I agree that Baker Mayfield plays a part in maybe the team aspect of this emotion, Odell Beckham plays a part in what this cultural situation is that they're dealing with, the lack of excellence connected to the brand. That's a stain that's already been time and time again a part of this Browns organization. So it's a cultural problem for the Browns. Let's go back to the origin of it. It's not an Odell Beckham cultural problem other than it being more of an Odell Beckham problem to the culture.
Here's what I would say. Second half of last year, Greg Williams is coach. They were headed the right direction, and Baker Mayfield was playing really well.
Yeah.
And they get rid of Greg Williams, new head coach, and then they bring in one of the strongest personalities in football, who, again, to me, is not the greatest personality in football, but he's certainly one of the strongest. Those things have changed, and Baker Mayfield's play has slipped. You got a head coach that, again, I believe is just a first-year head coach trying to deal with OBJ and all the historical baggage of the Cleveland Browns. I don't think OBJ is helping their culture, and I certainly think he's part of the problem.
Well, I think it's bigger than Odell. I think it's even bigger than Baker Mayfield. Think about this. They brought in a coach and made him the head coach in a first-year head coach with these personalities that originally was brought in to be the running backs coach. That's who Freddie Kitchens was, running backs coach. Look, I'm not saying you can't move on up, but whoa, at this pace, to now have this Cleveland Browns team with this amount of talent and this amount of personality, that's a tough task. Reminds me of a couple of situations I saw where a lot of the star players took the blame for something different. Let's bring up Colin Kaepernick. And everybody wants to say, what happened to Kaepernick? Part of it was Jim Tomsula, who was the D-line coach. Next thing you know, boom, he's out there, and that's a little different. Dez Bryant got himself on ice. Why? He went from Tony Romo throwing him 50-50 balls, because I'm a franchise quarterback, to a $400,000 a year. Dak Prescott, as a rookie, said, I ain't throwing you the ball unless you wide open. And then all of a sudden, you saw that production drop. What's happening here is everything lands different when you're not successful. And you could do the same exact damn thing. In New England, if you're having a child and you got to go take paternity leave and your name is Kyle Van Noy on the Patriots, all right, see you later. Missed the first game. But if you're Jalen Ramsey on a sorry Jacksonville team, hey, bro, what you doing? You really love that kid that much? And it's crazy because now we look at a situation where Michael Bennett goes at his coach to the point where they beef to a suspension. It's the Patriots. Sweep it under the rug. That happens over here where we just talk about coach or we talk about the referees. We blow it out of proportion. So success will cover and put lipstick on a lot of these mistakes.
Look, winning is a habit. Losing is also habitual. And what the Browns have is they have a habit of losing games. There's not a culture of excellence in that locker room. However, we always talk about the quarterback. There's a reason why we talk about the quarterback. The quarterback is the face of the franchise beyond the head coach. So I refuse to put this on Odell. I won't put it all on Freddie Kitchens. I'm going to say the franchise quarterback is to blame.
Second-year guy, Buck.
No.
Second-year guy.
Number one overall pick. Number one overall pick. Remember the heat we gave Cam Newton when he was emotional and all that other stuff. Baker Mayfield gets it the same. When you're emotional and you're up and down and you're not consistent in how you deliver your message and your performance, this is what you get. The Browns have an issue because their quarterback is not playing like a presidential quarterback.
I would say I'm going to push back on bringing Cam Newton into the discussion because early on, and particularly all the way up through his MVP year, there wasn't a great deal of criticism of Cam. There wasn't, Bucky.
The towel over the head, all the stuff, the icon, all of the stuff that he caught.
You know why he was doing all this? Because he was out there balling and people wasn't allowed.
You might have been on the positive side. Listen to all the criticism that he got coming from Auburn all the way through.
Got a lot of criticism coming out of college and people questioning his personality. And again, I'll defend those people right now based off we've got 10 years worth of history to say, damn, maybe there is a personality problem. I'm just saying, Baker Mayfield is in his second year as a quarterback. Just because he was drafted number one didn't mean he established himself as the franchise guy. Look, I'm thinking Patrick Mahomes is the reigning MVP. I don't think he has complete control of that Kansas City locker room. He's still a young guy. Deshaun Watson, the same thing. You grow into that. I think the Browns made a mistake. They obviously promoted Freddie Kitchens beyond his competence, the Peter principle. And then they bring in Odell. Let your quarterback get out there and establish. They have Jarvis Landry. There was not some great need for the most powerful personality in football to join this team when your quarterback is in his infancy. I just think they put Baker in a tough spot.
I don't think it's fair to put that on Odell Beckham, to be honest. I think the reality of this situation is that the Cleveland Browns, to what end you add Jarvis Landry? To what end you add Baker Mayfield? To what end that you add OBJ? They're not winners. And here's the problem.
Baker Mayfield's not a winner.
The Browns are not winners. The problem here is in this situation, you'd have to blow the whole thing up. And what you can't do in professional sports that you can do in college sports.
No, they did blow it up. They tanked and got a bunch of young guys.
No, I'm talking blow the whole thing up.
20 years of tanking.
I'm talking, you can't blow it up the way you need to blow it up because owners can't be removed. So when you're talking about an entire organizational dysfunction, you cannot continue to put the ills and the failures of a franchise on the players, nor can you put it on the coaches.
You sound like you watched the Clippers.
I sound like I lived it.
I'm gonna just tell you what you sound like.
What I sound like?
A living excuse.
No
none
way.
Of you play.
No way.
There's 53 guys in here, and none of you guys are accountable. You play for the Browns, and therefore they lose. This ain't Major League, man. This ain't the movie Major League.
But look at all the franchises.
I'm just tell you right now.
Look at all the franchises.
I'm just telling you right now. Doc Rivers and the Clippers gonna prove your point wrong this year.
No, actually the Clippers proves his point right, because until ownership changed, nothing changed. That's what he's saying.
That's right. Yeah,
That's all.
point.
I'm here to
Marcellus,
help everybody.
Hey, Marcellus, thank you.
And I got one more to help you guys with.
Go ahead.
The reason the Browns are in this situation currently, I'm not going to go historically because I'm not a big believer in the oxygen in the room is the same 20 years ago. That's why we still sorry. Shut up. We ain't built right. This team was built incorrectly, and I tell you, it's in mentality. What did Frederick Douglass say? It's easier to build strong children than repair broken men.
Yep.
When we were out there last year applauding Baker Mayfield for trolling Hugh Jackson and all those antics, as you say, not being presidential,
that's dysfunction.
We wasn't building a strong child there in the
dysfunction.
league. That's dysfunction, and now it's come awry because he's met adversity. That adversity is exposing all those insecurities, and right now it's leading to regression in production.
You become what your environment calls you to become with. That's the bottom line. Yep. The reason why I'm saying that blow up, you become the sum of what your environment forces you to become. It's not an excuse, it's just what it is.
Last year, they ended the season on a very positive run.
To what end?
To what end?
So Greg Williams comes back. Greg Williams comes back and is the
It's
coach.
too late for him to come back. I'm just saying they've made some mistakes.
But if he did.
I'm willing to go there with Bucky and Marcellus. Baker Mayfield's part of this problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just think Odell accentuated the problem and didn't help.
I will say this.
What quarterback has helped the Browns?
Like, what could help them is if they had a strong personality coach. Like, if you had someone that would wield the hammer. So, for instance, Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells comes in. Everyone knows it starts and stops with him. All of that incessant chatter, he cuts all of that out. So I will agree with you that. Also, when it comes to the quarterback, because the quarterback sits at the knee of the head coach. Well, you got a strong personality head coach. When Baker Mayfield is out there doing what he does, come on, we need to talk for a minute. You cannot act like this, because what you do is you enable the 52 other players to act like that. So there has to be one voice. There has to be some kind of unified message that we all are going on the same accord.
All right, LeVar Arrington is back. We're joined now by longtime NFL linebacker Brady Papinga. Time now for a big story sponsored by KFC. Come enjoy our new Kentucky Fried Wings in Buffalo, honey, barbecue, and Nashville hot.
Speaking of barbecue.
Talk again.
Yeah. What? I know where I'm going after the show. All right, let's talk Thursday night football, where the Vikings host Kirk Cousins' old team, the Redskins, tonight on Fox. Minnesota has won 3 straight, and Cousins has turned his season around, playing so well that he's actually leading the NFL in passer rating. The Vikings are now 5-2 with an offense loaded with weapons, while their defense remains one of the most dominant in football. All right, the question here is, are we sleeping on the Vikings?
No, we're not. And it's because of Kirk Cousins. I think we collectively have trust issues when it comes to Kirk Cousins. Let's just be real about it. His career record is 39-39-2. If that is not the definition of just average in terms of success, wins, and losses, despite having above average production, I don't know what is. And no one has testified on that team, in that organization, or in the media that this team is better with Kirk Cousins than they were with Case Keenum. Think about that. This is a team he inherited that was in the NFC Championship game. And so far, you don't see this team in the trajectory of surpassing that reality in these expectations. So until Kirk Cousins proves otherwise, primetime games especially, we're talking about a Kirk Cousins that has 5-25 record against teams with a winning record. So when you tell me to love the Vikings, I'll say, who's their quarterback again? And I love the person Kirk Cousins, and I'm impressed by him as a quarterback. But to take him to the heights where we should now jump on the bandwagon, I stop short.
And I'm with you 100%. And the reason why I am is because Kirk Cousins is extremely high-strung to be a quarterback. Now, it's good, be a linebacker, defensive end, to be really high-strung and uptight and kind of wound tight. But as a
You don't like that?
Not if you're a quarterback.
You don't like that?
No, man. When you have to process so much information in a small amount of time with big 290, was that what you weighed about?
Damn, you going at me like
Okay,
that.
I don't remember.
One off season, second year, but that's
I know you were
I'm
big
270,
and intimidating. Okay.
Yeah, 270.
Or 250 like LeVar and myself, and we're coming at you to full head of steam, and you got to process information, and you know you are going to take a blow. You have to be poised. And he just doesn't have that. And so for that reason, I just don't see them going too far. I think they're going to be good in the regular season.
As it usually comes down to me disagreeing with Mr. Papinga, and I love him because we're comrades, but I think Kirk Cousins is the answer. I think we're making this about Kirk Cousins, but we're talking about this team. Now, why are they sleeping on this team? It's because we want to throw Kirk Cousins into the conversations, and I get that. But when you got a guy like Stephon Diggs, who is a premier type of receiver who can make the plays, and when he's on, he's really on, I think having a Dalvin Cook, it gives you the opportunity to take some of that pressure that you're speaking of on Cousins and take it off of him. I think that this is a big game to find out a lot about this Vikings team and Cousins. Yes. And the reason being
16-point favorites tonight.
The reason being that this is a big game is to see how Kirk Cousins handles this emotionally and mentally within this game. It's a trap game of sorts. Why? Because you're about to play against a team that did not think that you were good enough to be the guy to lead their franchise while you were there. And like we all know, whether good or bad, they might not have any wins, but we're still going to see the true feelings of what Kirk Cousins feels and how he's able to conduct himself and lead this team, knowing the emotional ties that he has to the team that he's going against.
All right, I think we are sleeping on the Vikings, and I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan. I was against the Redskins giving him a contract extension. But when I look at this entire Vikings team, and you done left out Adam Thielen, probably their best wide receiver.
Who's out?
Who's out?
I get it, but I'm talking about further over the course of the season.
Run. Correct.
Stephon Diggs, Dalvin Cook, a defense that's really potent and good.
Shouts out to George Edwards.
And so I think I'm right there with LeVar. It's like he doesn't have to do nearly as much as was called upon him in Washington. And so I think you don't need as much from Kirk Cousins. So I tend to think we are sleeping on the Vikings, not giving them enough credit. They're a legitimate threat in the NFC North, and they're
the
a
NFC.
team. Yeah, in the NFC, I think they're a team you don't want to see in the playoffs.
Well, what's beautiful about this? We're going to get our answer in short order. 5 of their last 9 games are in prime time. What's Kirk Cousins' biggest issue? Playing in primetime games and playing against winning teams. They only played one winning team so far this year, and they lost to them, and that was the Green Bay Packers. So all of his demons, he can exercise this year. But I love your point about him being tightly wound. That was going to be one of the points I wanted to bring out. Long time ago, playing against Peyton Manning, and everyone was saying, what's wrong with Peyton Manning in big moments? And I used to say, he's tightly wound. And then that turned to Clayton Kershaw, and I jumped early, and these are two people I respect and love as people. I was like, tightly wound. So what happens in normal moments, regular season moments, when you're tightly wound, you're actually at an advantage because most guys are trying to get up to that moment. It's a regular season game. You're already there. But when it's prime time or it's postseason and everybody's on that level, you combust because you're already so tight on normal situations. So we're seeing it once again at that position where you need that processor. You got to be poised.
All right, Darnell, anything else we need to cover here?
Yes, sir. Just a reminder before the game kicks off tonight, make sure you download the Fox Sports Super 6 app and play for free for a chance to win Terry Bradshaw's 25 Gs.
Give me that money.
Whitlock Marcellus, one of the questions for tonight's game is who will win by how many points? So who you got?
I've got the Washington, not the Washington.
Oh,
I got the Minnesota Vikings.
We all make mistakes.
Covering the 16-point spread, 31-14.
You covering your bets right there. I got the Minnesota Vikings 31, Washington Redskins 22. They lose.
No cover. LeVar Arrington and Bucky Brooks are back. Let's move to Kansas City, where Patrick Mahomes practiced for a second straight day, just 7 days after dislocating his knee, and Andy Reid floated the idea that the quarterback might actually play this weekend against the Packers. Later on, the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported that Mahomes won't be playing this week, but our buddy Chris Carter isn't fully convinced.
This is Patty Mahomes' career.
That's his body. That's his knee. It's his decision to make, all right? Yeah, you guys will participate in it, but it's my decision to make if I'm going to play. He's going to be cleared by the doctors to be able to play if he can tolerate it. It's called pain threshold. How much can you take? And the best players ever played this game, their pain threshold was really, really high. The best quarterbacks ever played this game, and we don't see it a lot more because you don't have to be tough to play this game. But the best guys that ever been under center that have played in the NFL have been tough. I wouldn't be surprised at all that Patty Mahomes was to play.
Preach. Hell, this should be Patrick Mahomes' decision. Love this when I saw this morning.
I love it as well. It's not profound, but I love it as well. Every single decision a player makes in this situation is ultimately on the player. Sure. Have you ever seen a coach kick a player on the field? Like, we talking about Sam Darnold tomorrow, seeing ghosts. You ever see a coach with his foot up in a player's back get on the field? No. That pressure, what we're talking about, is that application of coach saying get on the field. But it's ultimately up to you to hit the equal sign to say what I'm going to do or not going to do. I've been in this exact same moment. Much lesser player than the NFL MVP and Patrick Mahomes, but a franchise player who broke his foot in week 1. And they said, it's 8 weeks, Wiley. And I said, I just got paid, and I'm balling right now. I'm coming out in 2 weeks. And you know what happens psychologically to you in those moments? You read everything differently, even if it's the same. So when I saw my teammates after I had my surgery, they looked at me like, how you doing, Wiley? You good? And I'm reading that as, hurry up. Instead of just them saying, are you okay? And then you look at your coach. He's like, how you feeling? I'm reading that like he's like, time is ticking. So Patrick Mahomes has to make the decision, but protect him from himself and make the decision for him. This is a situation we talk about pain and pain tolerance. Do you know what pain is? It's your body telling your brain something's wrong. And if you don't respect that signal, I will now call in troops in compensation from all other parts of your body to help with that pain. So if you go out there and ignore that, everything else is going to feel the weight of that.
Stairmaster this morning, Marcellus, in great pain. Should I have quit or should I have soldiered through like I did? Pat Mahomes should soldier through.
Yeah,
and,
same thing.
And again, look, because again, I'm just telling
who was hitting you on the Stairmaster?
I'm just going to tell you.
Who hit you on the Stairmaster?
Here's the deal, and I was saying this yesterday when y'all was killing me or trying to kill me, is he's not hurt. It's the public pressure. It's the second guessing of guys like y'all that's going to keep this dude off the field.
No, I dislocated my finger 20 years ago. It still hurts. What you talking about? It don't hurt. And nobody's hitting
it.
through it.
And so all I'm
saying.
Not
as well.
He went to the stair climber to point his fingers at us, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to respond to you, Jason Whitlock.
I really
don't.
If he doesn't play, it's because of the public relations pressure. They don't want to take the hit. The guy actually, I think, is physically ready to play. Everybody, he knows it. Andy Reid knows it. The doctors know it.
If everybody, I did state.
After he limped off the field, you want to put him right back? We're talking about the MVP. We're talking about the guy that is the franchise quarterback. He is the only way we're going to be able to win the Super Bowl because of the way that he plays. Or beat the
Green Bay Packers.
Now, is it that big of a game? We're 5-2 right now.
Yeah.
Andy Reid has to save him from himself. Yeah. This has to be a long-term decision. Andy Reid has said, hey, big fella, I appreciate your efforts. Look, I love that you're out here practicing, trying to get ready. But what we're going to do is we're going to let Matt Moore take the ball this week. And if Matt Moore is worth the salt, with our offense and the weapons that we have, he's still going to be able to carry us, and we still should be able to win the game. It's on everybody else to be able to get this. But for Pat Mahomes, we need Pat Mahomes to be ready for the stretch run. Don't put him out there so he's dealing with an injury that is long-term. Andy Reid has to step in and save the MVP from himself.
I think you got to discern the situation. This could be a situation where Mahomes' his health is where if it's bearable, and I saw it during practice during the week, that he can be effective and he can make a difference, and I feel confident and he feels confident, then you put it in his hands. But you have to also be realistic in saying, if I'm watching him in practice and he really, even just looking at the clips we were just looking at, he looked hobbled. It looked stiff. He didn't move with a level.
What clip are you talking about?
The clip. Yeah, sure. Look,
We're talking. You're on your Stairmaster.
What about that? What about that looks
Show him
unusual?
from coming under center. Watch it. Look at that. That's a leg.
That leg dead. That leg dead. I've been there.
All I know is
you've seen a lot of his practice film.
No, I was just I don't need much. I don't need much.
Go ahead.
All I'm saying is you got to be able to discern is his knee in a situation where the first hit that he takes or the first bad movement that he takes could actually lead to him doing something much worse than what it already is right now. If you feel confident in the fact that he can get out there and power, there's a difference between powering through pain and putting yourself in harm's way and putting yourself at risk to have a much more. I keep going back to the RG3. I keep seeing it in my head, the RG3 game. Where
not RG3.
I'm going to do it for the team.
At the time,
RG runs the damn ball all the time.
RG3 was RG3. When this happened, RG3 was RG3. And he finished that game with his knee being in bad shape. I just keep thinking about that moment. You can't put your quarterback in that moment even if they want to be.
With them two hunters,
I don't agree with that.
Them two hunters knowing that Pat Mahomes is limited, that offensive line is already kind of shaky. Man, Marcellus and LeVar are licking their chops to hit 15. No.
And let me tell you,
I'm a gristle eater, too. I'd have been taking the gristle off of it. I wouldn't not just me. I'm going all the way down. Yeah, I'm going all the way down.
The football death of RG3 haunts us all. We saw his spirit come out of his jersey in that moment. And and the worst part wasn't what we were watching, it's what we anticipated. Kevin Durant comes to mind as well in that Game 5. When you thought walking in, I don't know, we walking a tightrope here, and it happened. Here's my biggest issue. Let's distill the biggest problem with this situation. Collectively, it seems like some people's eyes are off the prize. What is the prize? Is Patrick Mahomes healthy? Is he ready to play? Here's the issue that I have, and I'm hearing people say it. They're taking into consideration, what's the Chiefs' record? They're taking into consideration, what's our opponent's record? They're taking into consideration,
when you
what's our
moved
playoff
to Kansas City.
Yeah.
You got to add that in there. How old you were when you moved there.
When we had
How
the
your grandma
conversation
felt when you moved there.
about my health,
right? Yes.
I don't give a damn about anything else. So why are we bringing those variables into the conversation? Lets you know you're a little off focus.
Listen, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on this show.
In my dog.
Look, I'm going to say the key word I have not heard, and this is the number one reason why I think he's ready to go. The key word I haven't heard, inflammation. We're just trying to get the inflammation down.
Stop with.
I haven't heard that. If you have something wrong with your
ER.
What?
Yo, they're acting like Eric LaSalle on ER, like you can diagnose it. Awesome stuff.
You know damn well when there's an injury, there's inflammation.
Hey, Kevin Durant. It can't get worse. Kevin Durant, it's not your Achilles. Kevin Durant, there you go.
It's your Achilles now.
It's your Achilles.
It's your Achilles now.
It's your Achilles now. Look, compensation is a mother, and it will occur. If you're not 100% here, it's a simple chain of events. It will find, if you're 97% here, it's going to look for 103% somewhere else. That is not supposed to take 103.
Okay.
There's a compensation.
Let's go this route then. We all agree Patrick Mahomes is smart, yes?
Yeah.
We all agree he's smart. He knows how much money's out there for him.
Lot.
Guaranteed.
40, 50 million a year, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
Do you honestly think the guy would sit there and want to play if he thought he was hurt and could jeopardize a $200-300 million a year?
Marcellus gave it to us.
I told you.
Peer pressure.
Yes.
Peer pressure is everything.
Everybody's good if the guy misses the game.
No. Peer pressure. Internal and external. When I'm looking at these guys in the locker room and he's talking about feeling that, hey, dog, you good? That good is, hey, man, are you coming?
You coming.
We need you. It's a big game. Aaron Rodgers is on the other side.
They didn't ask him that.
Jason, don't use my example. And the example I gave you was after I got paid. I already got it in my pocket. It's gone. It's my money. That's my car. That's my new house. I give you A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, when he started to take his little help to get himself to the next level. You know what the pressure was? He said, I felt like I had to live up to what I was making, already earning. So there's pressure before you get it, and there's even more when you know you're going to get it.
What about the pressure of if you do what Kawhi Leonard did? and you don't go out there you don't play, what's his reputation moving forward?
Man.
He'll sit it down.
Kawhi's got the greatest reputation in the NBA right now.
All right. After the fact,
After the
winning
championship.
the championship.
Yeah,
all
he had
right.
to clean
Okay,
that
that's
up.
fine. But during that time, that's a very difficult time for that man to get through what he was getting through, all of the criticism and all that pressure that was coming your way. Come
Do
on,
what
man.
you think is the right thing, Pat. Don't listen to these guys. Whitlock and Wiley, LeVar Arrington, and Brady Papinga are back with us. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. Darnell, take it away.
Yes, sir. Let's move to the Eagles, who have been struggling this season and now dealing with some locker room issues as well. After an anonymous Eagles player called out Carson Wentz to ESPN's Josina Anderson last week, the local Philly media just outed the anonymous player as being wide receiver Alshon Jeffery. Both Jeffrey and Doug Pearson refused to comment on the story, and Wentz says he and Jeffrey are cool. So I want to ask you guys, what should the Eagles do with Alshon Jeffery?
I think when you call out the franchise quarterback, the clock is ticking. And if I try to trade Alshon Jeffery, if he's taking these kind of pot shots behind the scenes anonymously, I'd get him up out of the locker room. If he's still got Nick Foles hangover, send him to Jacksonville.
I do nothing. One, you can't convict the guy. It's just conjecture. They don't know for sure it was him. One. Trust me, I've been a local media radio guy, like this was reported, and I've also been an unnamed source on the team that turned into a named source on the team. Jim Trotter, respect to you in my San Diego Charger days. I was a snitch, and then I just turned into, look, it's me saying it. Go get him. This is your best receiver. Say what you want. This is still your best receiver. And I also think this applies enough internal pressure and adversity for a quarterback who hasn't won that locker room necessarily, was given that locker room because of the absence of Nick Foles. Now, is there a correlation between this is the same guy who's not played a meaningful January game for this franchise, has only won 2 meaningful December games for this franchise? So that adversity that we want to see him go out there and overcome, that he didn't overcome last week against Dallas, turnover one series, next series, another turnover, we need to see him go get it, not give it to him all the time.
And you hit the nail right on the head, in my opinion. The problem isn't Alshon Jeffery. He's just calling an ace an ace. The problem is mismanagement. And it happened with Carson Wentz. Nick Foles was the better quarterback. Goes and wins you a Super Bowl, wins an MVP. By golly, they put a statue of the guy out in front of the stadium.
Right.
But yet you're going to treat him like a second-class citizen, basically say, you did all that great stuff, but go ahead, just go to the bench. We got our guy here for you. And then lo and behold, what happened after that? Carson Wentz gets hurt again, and the Eagles almost pull off the same thing. They're, down the last second. Alshon Jeffery dropped the ball, but against the Saints. The point is, Nick Foles injected that energy into him again. So it's just Alshon Jeffery saying, look, man, I get it.
But
Carson
Brady,
Wentz is
they
great.
made an organizational decision to go with Carson Wentz.
It's done.
And
It's
I
already
understand
happened.
I understand that.
What you're saying. Go ahead.
I understand,
gotta
but what I'm
stick-
saying is with in Alshon Jeffery's state of his career, he's not in it to be like, man, I'm going to go with this young buck and help him develop. He's in it to where it's like, hey, we got to win now.
Yeah.
And I know I'm connected to the guy behind the center, and Nick Foles was by far the better option for me and our team, and he can't keep it in any longer.
And that's why they got to bring that Hellboy hand. You got to bring that that hand that's bigger than the other hand. You know, that one that he could just wreck everything with that one hand. He better bring that Hellboy hand. Don't you let this live.
And do what?
Don't you let it live. Oh, he got to go.
You don't even know if it's him.
He got to go.
Oh, it's him.
Why is
He
it
gotta
him?
go. It's come out.
It got quiet because
it's come out.
I can't go
It's
into
come out.
why, but I know it's
Okay.
him.
It's come out.
Well, I do know this.
If it's him, let's say this. If it is him,
it got to go.
he got to go.
Respect is earned, not given. You cannot give 52 other guys
You want to know where the respect is?
a mindset that we have to believe in this quarterback that we don't fully believe in.
You want to know where the respect is?
Go.
We pay your paycheck, and we chose him to be your quarterback.
Fine.
That's where the respect lies, right there, right there and there.
Yeah, but the problem is the whole organization also knows this. Everybody who's played with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles knows, hey, the guy that's was playing in Jacksonville, the hurt his clavicle.
Everybody
is the better player. And I'm just talking everybody in the
If he was the
organization,
better player,
other than the guys making the
It
decisions.
would have been reversed.
Other than Zach
If they believe that to be true, Nick Foles would have been the guy that was still there as the head coach. The decision was made.
You know why?
Not?
Because
Why
it's
not?
a political decision. Anytime you invest to go get a guy at number 2 overall, we have to have a ROI, return on that investment. It has to work. We're married to that. Nick Foles works. Who picked that? That came out of nowhere. If Carson Wentz works, mastermind, calculated response. That's what goes into
We're
those
acting
decisions.
as though Nick Foles took them through the entire regular season to get them into the playoffs.
Oh, we're only acting like
he won the Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl.
I'm sorry.
He had to win during the year to get them to the Super Bowl.
Okay, I won during the year a lot and lost in the playoffs.
They were calling Carson Wentz in Pennsylvania, Wentzylvania. All right. Yeah. He did a whole lot during that season. He played very well at a very high level. It does not make sense to devalue and discredit what that man was able to accomplish during the course of that regular season. He got hurt in the playoffs. I get that. Foles wins the Super Bowl. I get that. But the decision was made to go with him, whether you're saying it was because of where he was picked or whatever it may have been with Nick Foles, I don't know what it is, but they chose to stay with him. If you allow this to become the narrative that comes out of your locker room, you know, somewhat you could possibly know. There's my ED.
You heard about
There's my ED, right?
I heard about it, yeah.
But if you allow your locker room to see that you guys are okay with letting that happen as the organization, then now that goes back to the conversation we were having about the Cleveland Browns and how you have a dysfunctional organization trying to move forward. Doesn't work. Hellboy hand.
Have you ever been on a team when you had a quarterback controversy? I think I've been on one of the worst with Rob Johnson, Doug Flutie, covers SI. They had them like split cover and all this kind of
We
crazy.
had one every year I was in Washington. Every year.
That leads to
we
failures.
had one in every year.
But you know what you can't do? You can't force feed us the guy that everyone collectively believes different.
We were force fed this man's high school teammate. We were force fed.
And
Jeff
Carson
George.
Wentz is no slouch.
We
but
like
Nick Foles did.
We like
something
Brad
different.
Johnson. We were force fed Jeff George. I like Jeff George. We were force fed Jeff George. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
I agree with you all if Nick Foles were still there, but he's gone.
Yeah.
And so
move on.
Alshon seeing ghosts.
Who's their back? I don't even know who their backup quarterback is.
I'm not gonna say that.
And so Carson Wentz is the only option. And so if Alshon Jeffery and a few other guys don't want to get on board, then a few other guys gotta go.
You gotta go. Why say it? He's not here. He is not there with
He didn't
you.
say Nick Foles. One. And two, we don't know if Alshon even said that not say Nick Foles.
But
Can y'all stop it?
But if he said it, I'm basing this off of if he indeed said it. Why are you still going at your only chance to have success?
Let's be real. Carson Wentz is more talented than Nick Foles.
Thank you.
But less is more in a lot of situations.
Sometimes.
I played against Drew Bledsoe in the Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots days, and before they went to the Super Bowl, and I'm playing against him. And then Tom Brady comes in, and we're like, this is better for us because he's less than Drew Bledsoe. But they made a decision. And they went with less, which was actually more. Intangibles came into the conversation where Carson Wentz seems like in the intangible conversation, he's not sold in that locker room.
And here's the biggest problem. Howie Roseman, the front office, when they went with Carson Wentz, they valued potential over productivity. And that breaks an organization.
Ooh, say that again.
Let's move to the Panthers, who have won 4 straight since Kyle Allen took over for the injured Cam Newton under center, but will face their toughest test yet on the road against the undefeated 49ers this week. Allen hasn't just held down the fort since Cam went out. He's actually turned the Panthers season around. And when you compare their numbers this year, it's not hard to understand why there's been so much speculation that Cam's days in Carolina may be numbered. All right, Bucky, prepare to be triggered. Cam Newton is done. Done in Carolina if they win this weekend. It's over. It's a wrap.
One, I said that last week. They need a site for people who are actually right, and not just wrong in all their takes. Because I've been right a lot of these takes. I told you, look, with their situation as it was lined up, a quarterback who can't lose is now playing one of the top teams in the NFL. And if he beats him, then all the incentives are to stay pat, and Cam Newton has to move on. Let's talk about why. One, you have a 30-year-old athletically based quarterback that's breaking down physically. 2, you have a guy that now we're going to say, if you're going to be long for this situation, you're going to have to alter your game. As we saw even in the beginning of the season, fewer rushers, Fewer rushes, but less production. Then let's talk about the mental makeup. Whatever you want to think about Cam Newton, who I love, who I am so fond of as a player, he had his issues with this organization, and they put up with it because of that production. But let me tell you right now, you got you a guy right now making pennies on the dollar who causes no problems and is less to this team in terms of production, but more to this team because of how everyone else is allowed to produce.
You just made that point last segment.
So, look, this is business. I'm just talking strictly with my business mind. Cam Newton,
he done.
You're done if he wins this game. It's a wrap.
Man, y'all are so premature about this. My man has played 5 games. He's 5-0, and that's great because it means the team around him has really stepped up in Cam Newton's absence. And if they continue to win, he continues to be the hot hand. But it being over for Cam Newton, nah, not quite. The season is too long. There are too many things that happen. And at some point, he'll come back to the pack because earlier in the show we talked about Baker Mayfield and how great it looked last year. Small sample size. The more he plays, and when we started doing those second go-rounds.
They changing coaches.
When we start seeing the second go-round. Now the teams have seen Cal Allen.
Carolina.
We'll see how it looks. Cam Newton will continue to do his rehab, continue to work, and they'll call him. They'll be back.
49ers.
And when they come back, make sure you bring me back so you can tell me.
6-0 49ers with that defense. If they win, how do you bring Cam back?
Go.
At some point, he will get it. I didn't say they come back. They give him the starting spot right away. He'll get the starting spot by the end of the year. Trust me.
I think it's a difficult situation that it puts Cam in if they win. If he is able to emotionally endure what Bucky's talking about and get to that place where it may change. There may be a moment in time where Allen cannot lead this team to victories, and they may need to take that look back at Cam Newton. But if they win against this 49ers team, the way that see, you can't fake your way through a win on this team. Their defensive front they're destroying teams.
Men.
You're not going to be able to say, Kyle Allen managed to get the win. He's going to have to be just as much a part of this win as any other guy on that offensive unit. So if they do get this, it puts Cam in a situation where if he runs his mouth, he's done. If he can't handle it emotionally, he's done. If he lashes out and say anything that would be, bring reproach upon him or the organization, he's done. So it's going to be more on Cam and how he handles it if this team actually beats the 49ers this weekend.
If this team beats the 49ers this weekend, the smart play by Carolina is to trade Cam on Monday or Tuesday before the deadline. Get something of value because if they beat the 49ers in that defense, it's not about Kyle Allen. It's like, we can get this done without Cam, without overpaying. We can go out and draft a guy if we want to, or we can continue to play things out with Kyle Allen. If they win on Sunday, I try to trade Cam Newton Monday.
That makes sense, and I think that would be certainly their attempt. Let me preface everything I'm going to say after this by saying that Cam Newton knows that wherever he goes, whatever happens, he's going to land on a soft mattress of opportunity and money. Cam is not done in this league. Please do not confuse what I'm saying. But I'm going to say this about this Carolina situation. I didn't see Cam Newton bet on himself as I thought Cam Newton would bet on himself. Him saying that I can't be Superman, so I'm not going out there, showed me 2 things in his psyche. He had 2 plays. One was, I'm going to chill, smoke this stogie,
and let them lose.
Sip that drink, and watch them kill themselves without me. Especially you, Kyle Allen. Hate to say this, but I've been the backup before, trust me. We ain't always rooting for the starter. I'm just be real. So I'm looking at you like, kill yourself. This fool can't lose? He can't lose. His passer rating's 108, and mine is 81 since week 10 last year, and he hasn't lost a game in the NFL yet? Okay. I thought the play would have been then 80% of me is better than 100% of him. We didn't see that play either.
No.
So either there's resistance from him making that second play or there's a lack of belief that I'm going to go out there and put that product out there and be better than him in this situation. That's how I read it.
That's very sensible.
It's sensible, but I don't think that makes sense in this situation. Like, I like the theory and the premise, like, hey, I'm going to wait, I'm going to go out there at 80%. We've seen what 80% of Cam Newton looks like. It's exactly what y'all talking about, which is why y'all trying to run him out.
100%
70, 71, passer rating, all that other stuff. Sub 60 completion rate. So what Cam Newton should do, and if he's smart, this will be the biggest test of him from a mental standpoint. Yeah. Can he be a pro when they're asking him to be a backup? We all have been in the locker room, and we know what's coming. We're going to put Marcellus on the back. We're going to see if he can be a backup. LeVar, we're going to bring you to the second team. We still need you to practice hard, and we want you to be a mentor. Can you be that guy when you're hurting on the inside?
I was demoted and went to scout team, so I agree with you.
Cam Newton.
Some of your best
What
players.
Cam Newton can do is he can be a great leader and mentor. Give everything to Kyle Allen to set him up for the next opportunity and situation, because it's going to come back around for him.
Yep.
I hate to answer that question, because I agree with Marcel. As a starter, I like Cam's chances elsewhere. As a backup, I don't like him anywhere. He's not. He will not be a good
It's deadly when Coach walk up to you, LeVar, you've been here. When you the man, and then all of a sudden Coach is like, you know what? On third downs, we're going to start this little rotation, and you're like, writing's on the wall. Because when they upstairs, when they write it on the wall, they write it explicitly. Then they try to measure it to tell us in some delicate ways. But upstairs, they like, it's on. If he wins this game, Cam got to go.
Delicate way.
Let's talk Cowboys. We're fresh off a huge win over the Eagles that put them in first place in the NFC East. The win also quieted some of the speculation about Jason Garrett's job security, with Jerry Jones explaining his relationship with the coach on his radio appearance this week.
It's important that you have that good relationship. Is important that you have a yes man there from any perspective. It's important not to have a yes man. Jason Garrett is not a yes man. And I don't say that must me protest. I say that because he's not. Is Jason respectful of the order of things? Of course he is.
All right, the question here is simple. Do you agree with Jerry that Jason Garrett isn't a yes man? And I do agree with Jerry, because what people are really trying to say is that Jerry's a bad boss, and he requires a yes man to be his head coach, and I just don't believe that.
I'm with you. I agree with Jerry. He's not a yes man. This is only getting magnified in part because of the star and the uniqueness of the position of the general manager is the owner. So now we're going to look at this differently, because let's be real, the dynamics are different. But what I see from Jason Garrett is a security. A peace within himself of knowing that I'm doing a good job and I don't have to be disruptive to show everyone I'm doing a good job. A lot of people don't understand that Jason Garrett is the second longest tenured coach in Dallas Cowboys history. And he didn't get that just because, he's quiet and he's a yes man. He actually has a higher win percentage than the Hall of Famer coach, Bill Parcells, who was a Dallas Cowboy coach, and a better playoff record. Jason Garrett. So when you say yes, man, you're just saying basically he's not disruptive. So sometimes when you're at peace, you get everything you want, and people listen to you off of first listen instead of second bark. They think that you're a company man. And that's not who Jason Garrett is. This guy has shown since, if you followed his career, even in his playing days, even before that in his Ivy League days, which I did, which gives me a little bias, but intel, this guy doesn't care. When he wants something, he goes and gets it, and then he's fine. I understand that. I understand that mentality, and I think that it's unfortunate because who Jerry Jones is, we try to put that label on Jason.
I think Jason Garrett just knows his role. His role on the Cowboys. Look, he understands Jerry Jones is the face of the franchise. Jerry Jones is always going to be out front. But when you look at what Jason Garrett has done, he actually deserves credit for winning like 4 out of 5 seasons, the last 4 out of 5 seasons, he's had winning seasons. He won a division title in 3 of those 4 seasons. Look, it started out where he was a 500 coach, but since that point, he's been a consistent winner for the most part in Dallas. I just believe that everyone, because of the brand and because the Cowboys are such a big deal when it comes to talking, particularly in the media, that we kind of poo-poo on Jason Garrett, but I think he's been solid. I think he is a guy that understands his place, and he doesn't mind allowing the owner to do what he does because he's kind of a strong personality.
Yeah.
It's all about playing the game the right way. And some way, somehow, Jason Garrett has been able to manage his affairs on the field as a football coach and also manage the relationship with the owner of the team and with the GM of the team. And when I look at this situation and do I agree with Jerry? I agree with him because he's looking at this coach as someone who can do what he wants him to do and at the same time not be divisive, confrontational, disrespectful, threatening. Jerry Jones has gotten very comfortable with Garrett as his guy. And I think he feels comfortable knowing that he can actually give him the players that he needs to give him, and he can possibly, the idea of possibly achieving what it is that he wants to achieve, which what we talked about when we were talking about if Urban Meyer was the guy for the job there, you can actually achieve what you want to achieve with a guy that isn't going to take away the spotlight from Jerry Jones. Everybody can coexist in a harmonious way. And I think that that's the comfort of what you get with a quality coach. He believes he has a quality coach. And I think that that's what he believes he has first. So I think he is telling the truth. I agree with him.
I want to be clear here, though. I'm not a Jason Garrett fan. I just don't think he's a yes man. And I don't think Jerry's looking for a yes man. And so that's all I'm saying. In terms of whether Jerry can do better at the head coaching position, I stand by that. I think they can do better. I think if this team doesn't make it to the NFC Championship, they need to move on from Jason Garrett. And people will continue, well, who's Jerry going to get to be a yes? Jerry doesn't want a yes man. Jerry, if you think Jerry, and again, I know he and Jimmy Johnson fell out, but Jerry knew who Jimmy Johnson was. They were college teammates or something at Arkansas. My memory serves me right.
None of them coaches are yes men.
Right. And so Jerry wants a great coach who can deliver him a Super Bowl at the end of the day. Jerry's going to provide him the players, and I think he's provided Jason Garrett great players. And it's up to Jason Garrett to get it done. But I don't think Garrett's a yes man, and Jerry's not looking for one.
Well, let me play the other side for this because there is some smoke on the other side. Jerry has hired lesser personalities. Let's just be real. Jimmy Johnson, Bill Parcells versus Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett. Yeah. Now, Wade Phillips comes to mind. I have intimate experience with Wade Phillips in Buffalo, who was a coach that won 11 games, 10 games, and 8 games. And all of a sudden, poof, smoked. The Buffalo Bills haven't been but one time to the playoffs since they lost that coach. And I'm going to tell you what happened to him. Perception is reality to lazy people. Reality is reality to the real ones. And Wade Phillips wouldn't wear a headset. And Wade Phillips wouldn't yell at us. We out there winning 10 games, 11 games. What you yelling for? And Wade used to always say this. If you're not prepared by Sunday, then that's on you. I did my job Monday through Saturday. So now I'm trusting you. And the Buffalo Bills found out the hard way. But if you marry that situation to what the Dallas Cowboys are saying, Wade Phillips was not a yes man. He did all his work. I'm not a part of this production for everyone to see on Sundays to act like I'm really coaching. I did my coaching. So Jason Garrett, to me, reminds me of what I went through with Wade Phillips. Unfortunately, that success is undermined because you don't have that barking personality.
He doesn't get enough credit for what they've done. He stabilized the organization. He's done a pretty good job with this team. This team is in line to win another division title. They win 4 out of 5. I think 4 out of 6. You have to give them credit. You have to let them stay there.
Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our Odell Beckham Jr. approval rating. All right, before we do that, go ahead and give Marcellus Big Dummy of the Day.
Hey, man, Big Dummy of the Day.
No, sir.
Go to the one and only doctor that we got sitting up here on the set.
yeah.
Since we got a live-in doctor and it's a family, I think it's safe to say I got health care included in this next contract coming up, Douglas.
Do you have it in this contract? Well, then don't get used to it.
All right. Let's talk the Browns, who play the Patriots in New England Sunday. Jarvis Landry was asked about the game and said, quote, "We're going to win. It's just that simple. We're going to win." Landry has backed off, saying he wasn't making a guarantee. All right, Marcellus, do you like Jarvis's? He did make a guarantee. He predicted win.
I know, right?
Like him doing this?
Hell no. Don't like it, Jarvis. Love you, bruh. The Patriots defense gives up 6.9 points a game. That's historic. That means you're going to score maybe, get the extra point, maybe. You don't even get the guaranteed extra point. Gas meets fire. You want to hear this? Patriots 18 interceptions so far this year. Your quarterback, Jarvis, has thrown 11, the most in the league. Gas meets fire. It's going to be a problem.
All right, Uncle Jimmy, what do you think about Jarvis's guarantee?
I don't think y'all paid me to come here and talk about Jarvis.
Oh, yeah,
y'all
you're
paid
right.
me to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. That's what I'm going to talk about.
All right.
All right, you're right. Go ahead.
Look here, man, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. is that dude that don't want to abide by the rules and regulations that govern the facility.
All that complaining, yeah, you're right.
And it's just that simple. And you know why?
Why?
Because he's a butt man.
Oh,
and anybody that look at him can tell he's a butt man. He say the same thing. Oh, I know the rules, but man, that don't apply to me.
Okay.
But man, everybody always picking on me. Oh, but man, you know how they do us. Be choking us at the bottom of the huddle. No, man. That's you. He a butt man.
Yeah,
you know, some of y'all might know this, man. Uncle Jimmy had him a cup of coffee back in Kansas City when I was in law enforcement.
A cup of coffee back when you were in...
I had a cup of coffee in law enforcement back in Kansas City.
You were a policeman for a second?
Yeah.
Look here, just listen to me, man.
Yeah.
We are.
Look here, and let me tell you, what I see going on with Odell ain't no different than what I used to see if I was making a car stop in Kansas City. I go stop a car in the middle of the night, no headlights, no windshield, got the baby hanging out the window looking like a Great Dane. And I go up to the car and say, ma'am, you know why I stopped you? And they say the same thing every time. Yeah, I know, because I'm black. Hey, man, I used to take offense to that, man, because before I met Marcellus, I was the darkest person I'd ever known. Now, wait. Listen, it says in Narcotics Anonymous that acceptance is the first step to our recovery.
Yes.
Bottom line, in order to get help, you got to realize you need some help. And right now, Odell don't think he need no help. Odell out there strung out, out there taking selfies with complete strangers, out there in the alleys just doing God know what, just trying to get that next like on Instagram. The brother needs some help.
That's true.
Hey, but you know what, man? Sometimes you can't help those that don't want to be helped. They believe what they want to believe. It's kind of like my nephew. Look here, man. You can't tell this man that Jeff George won't someday be in the Hall of Fame for the NFL.
That's real.
That's true.
That is true, y'all.
Now, let me tell you something else you can't get him to do. He won't watch 1 second of that Michael Jackson documentary.
That's true. I'm a Michael Jackson fan.
I'm with you.
Hey, and let me tell you something.
I'm with you.
And despite all of the facts given to you, he still will argue with you and swear up and down that a McRib is one of the 4 food groups. You understand? You ain't gonna change his mind.
That's true.
McRib. Is McRib that fire?
I liked it back in the day.
I liked it back in the days.
All right, listen, I got Odell Beckham Jr.
DoorDash got blisters delivering to his door so many times.
A 52.
Yeah, Jason, we know.
11 job performance. Truth there. Dropped his character 2 points to a 12. 52 scout team.
Yeah, what the DoorDash app say? Yeah, we know, Jason.
Yeah. You want another McRib? Yeah.
Odell's going down right now. He's not getting the ball. He's not getting the production. You miss Eli right now. I know you do. A quarterback that believed and knew how to be a pro.
Internet agrees with me. They got him at a dumpster fire, 43%.
I ain't got him that low.
I want to hear about Uncle Jimmy's law enforcement career.
Oh, man, no, we don't.